don't think he was a well-known figure in Iran until he was named by Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, in 2018. I think you'll remember there was that extraordinary treasure trove, an archive of nuclear documents that Israel lifted from Tehran, brought here, and before they'd even finished, in fact, going through them, Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister, did a presentation, and he named Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, and he said, you know, remember this name. Now, he was only at that stage, I believe, referring to his own presentation, but he put that name on the map, and we remember that now because he marked him, in a sense.
At the start of the week, Judah Grunstein, on the France 24 debate, the panel agreed that, well, this is a poisoned gift, that whoever did it is leaving to Joe Biden, the aim being to perhaps scuttle any chance of returning to that UN brokered 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Is it mission accomplished on that front? There'll be no going back to that agreement?
Well, I'd take the gift off of that expression and just call it poison. I don't know whether it will succeed. Definitely, there's this rush between Netanyahu and Trump in the last couple months of Trump's presidency to not tie up loose ends, but leave as many of them as possible for Biden when he comes into office. Biden has since repeated that he has the intention of re-entering the nuclear deal with Iran. There's no guarantee that will happen or that it will be successful. What this really reveals, there's a couple things this reveals. To begin with, it puts the Iranians in a very difficult position because they have to respond in some way, but they have to respond in a way that doesn't invite an over-the-top reaction by Israel or the U.S., military reaction, that is. And they also have to respond in a way that leaves the door open to diplomacy with Biden. But they do have to respond, and I expect that they will over the long term. They already passed a resolution or passed a law upping the notch in terms of their non-compliance with the deal that can be reversed. The other thing that it reveals, though, is the United Arab Emirates were very quick to distance themselves from the killing. They've actually been reaching out to the Iranians more in terms of quiet cooperation around the pandemic and other things, because they're right in the front line and in the firing line of Iran's short-range precision strike missiles, whereas Israel isn't. So as much as there's been this sense that the Saudis and the Israelis are lining up to oppose a re-entry into the nuclear deal by the United States, I think that there's a range of threat perceptions between the Gulf states and Israel that could actually undermine their position.
Yeah,
and then
go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't know for sure that it has put returning into the deal off the table for Biden.
What's certain, Richard Verdi, is we're all wondering if the current state of play, which is pretty binary, you're either with the Saudis or with the Iranians, whether or not that's going to change.
Well, to tell you the truth, let me come back a bit to Biden and the U.S. position. In a way, it makes the situation more difficult to Biden to come back to an agreement, but you can also see this as an opportunity for the U.S. administration, because now Iran has been weakened by this assassination, and it is a possible opening for the U.S. diplomacy. So I would see this as a good momentum for Biden to catch the possibility of joining again a UN framework agreement. Now, the big difficulty we're going to see is what you said about the possible retaliation from Iran. If that retaliation comes before Biden inauguration, then clearly it would be difficult for the US government to do anything else. But if Iran is clever enough to wait a bit for Biden to be in power, then we might be surprised during the first week of Biden power.